guys, so it's the holidays, and as promised, my famous pepper pot recipe. There's nothing more important to a Guyanese family on Christmas morning than pepper pot and bread. So in this, we're going to be talking about the pepper pot, and I'm going to do another video after this for the bread. Okay, so things you're going to need for your pepper pot recipe is a calf's rib. Doesn't matter about the brand, just any good. Usually the higher the price, the better the quality. You're going to need some brown sugar or burnt sugar. If you don't have it or you don't want to use it, this is one of the things you can definitely take out. You don't need a lot of it. Definitely you need married man, and that's just a Guyanese basil, but please look for the married man. It does give a fragrance and a flavor that's authentic to pepper pot. And you will also need Guyanese fine leaf thyme. You can use fresh or dried for either herb. Here I have 1 cup, and here I have another cup of thyme. Half a cup of brown sugar, and 2/3 cup of salt. But the salt is to taste and always entirely up to the person cooking. Have here 1 cup of wine. If you do not wish to use wine, you can use water. Some cinnamon sticks. I use 2 pieces of ginger, and I sliced it up here. So this is what we're going to be using. And here I have about a teaspoon of cloves, about 1.5 teaspoons of cloves. 2 tablespoons of powdered onion, 2 tablespoons of powdered garlic, 2 tablespoons of allspice, and here I have about 18 to 20 weary peppers. And I will add more towards the end, because as the meat cooks, the burning from the pepper dissipates, and so does the smell. And it is pepper pot, so we're looking to layer the flavors. So towards the end, I might add some more thyme, some more married man, and amend the flavors that way. I usually 100% of the time add about 5 or 6 more wearies to the top and add thyme and married man. So that's what we're going to be using today, and we're going to be using about 5 pounds of mixed meat. And next we're going to talk about the meat. Okay guys, we're going to talk about the meat. Now I'm not going to be using all this meat because this is about 10 to 12 pounds of meat, but what I did was I washed it all. I seasoned it with some garlic powder, some onion powder, salt, and black pepper. And I'm going to take out what I'm going to use today and save the rest, so as the pepper pot cooks in the week, I can always add more meat. Definitely I'm going to be using all of this cow foot. So this pepper pot that I'm making today, when I say mixed meat, it's different types of beef. Some people do use mixed meat in terms of some deer meat, some laba. I know people use pork and beef together. So you're free to do that. But today I'm just going to be using beef, and I'm going to be using approximately 5 pounds. So once I've washed it all, you notice I have it in different piles because they're going to be going into the pot in different stages. So the cow foot and the oxtail, cow foot takes the longest. Half an hour later, I'll add the oxtail. Then I'll add the beef shank and the sina. And I like this variety of meat because of the flavor and the layering of flavors that they provide. And nothing for me is more important than a nice marrow bone in my pepper pot. So I'm gonna get my meat together, what I'm gonna use today, and pack away the rest for adding during the week. Let's get started. Okay, so here I have my 4 types of beef, and you can see they're all in pretty much the same size bowl, so that way I can measure out. their evenness. I didn't end up using all the cow foot because when I lifted it I realized how heavy it was and I need some for later. So my process is, what I do is I brown the meat here, then I move it over to this pot. Once the meat is brown, once they're all over there in their layers, then we're gonna add some wine to this pan and deglaze it, take everything out, and then pour it into this pot. Okay, so let's get started. I have in the pan some beautiful coconut oil. I like coconut oil because again, it's authentic to the flavor of traditional pepper pot in Guyana, or some people would use animal fat, but I love the smell of coconut oil along with the married man, the thyme, and the wiri. So here we have it browning. I'm going to add the oxtails next. Another good reason to brown your meat is so that you, as it boils, it holds together. So the meat doesn't end up falling apart and becoming, you know, mushy. So it's another great way also to bring flavor to your beef. That nice brown goodness that you get from browning off your meat in any stew or whatnot. But mainly, I like to brown it off because I like the meat to stay whole. Right? So, I'm going to let these pieces brown off. And then once I've got everything browned off, I'll come back and then we'll add to this pot our seasonings. Okay guys, the layering of flavor process is going really well. You can see the nice browning and you can see the flavors. It's fogging up, but I want you to see these little brown bits on the bottom here. That's gonna add a lot of flavor to your pepper pot, okay? So we'll keep browning this off. I've already added this to the pot, and now we're gonna add our seasoning to start layering of flavors. So I added the cow heel. Now I'm gonna add all the thyme, the married man, the sugar, our garlic powder, our onion powder, the allspice, our wiri, the cloves and the ginger, and then we're just going to let these spices and herbs heat up a bit in the pot. Okay, we're going to toss them around and let them warm up and let them release their oils. Oh guys, the flavor, it smells amazing already, I can tell you. So I'm going to let this go and warm up, not burn, but just toast up for about maybe another minute and a half. Then I'm going to add the water and the salt and the burnt sugar. I'm going to save for when the rest of the meat's in the pot. Like all my meat's in the pot, then I will add the salt and the burnt sugar. Okay, so our cow heel has been cooking for approximately half an hour. Now I'm going to add, and I know how much it is that I need because I know I've been using this bottle for a long time, but I'm going to be using approximately 2.5 cups of casreep. Now, some casreep that I actually brought back from Guyana myself, I've only needed 1.5 cups, but this brand that I'm using here, I find that I need 2.5 cups. Okay, so I've added that. Now I'm going to bring the meat over and add these to the pot. They're nice and brown. And at this point, you should start to get a smell and an idea of pepper pots being cooked in your house. Like, you will know from the aroma that you've got the right flavorings. If you feel at this point something is missing, don't add anything yet. Give it an hour of cooking together and then give it a taste, and then you can correct or amend. Okay? So as I said, once this is done, I'm going to add the wine now to the pot that I browned the meat. Okay? Before I do that, I'm going to add another 4 cups of warm or hot water. Then I'm going to come over here, put this pan back on, and add the wine. You're going to need a wood spoon, and then you're just going to deglaze this pan, which means basically scraping all these nice brown bits off the bottom. Once you see the wine comes to like a little boil, you can pour it into the pot. Okay? And this helps with that tackiness, you know, that you get with your pepper pot. It helps you achieve it a lot faster. It also just adds a nice beefy flavor to the pot. Okay, so I've got it all. Now I'm going to add it to the pot. Just grab a pot holder. I will be posting the video for the bread, so please stay tuned for that. And pour that all in there. Here. And then I've got a little bit of burnt sugar from making black cake. Would I buy store-bought burnt sugar? Probably not, because it does not have the smell and the aroma that I want. So now I'm just adding a little bit of the hot stock to get it to release from the bottom. And this is about 2 tablespoons of burnt sugar, or browning, some people call it. Now I'm gonna let it cook, and wait, I forgot the salt. Okay, I'm not gonna put all. I'm gonna reserve some for tasting. Only a foolish cook would put all a ton of salt, because you can't take it back out. You know, salt can be added but can't be taken out. So I added the salt. I'm gonna let it boil for an hour and a half. Then I'm gonna taste, see if it needs more wiri, more thyme, maybe more cashew, maybe more salt, and adjust the flavors then. But pretty much this is your pepper pot. Okay. Hey guys. Okay, so some things you'll notice is like this frothing, very normal. As your pepper pot cooks, it will disappear. Also at this point, it's been about 15 minutes. What I like to do is get some of the wiris and squish them against the pot. And that just releases some of the flavor. So I'll do, you know, every time I come give a stir, I'll do 2 or 3 of them. So that just adds to the whole layering of flavors. Pepper pot takes a lot of love and attention, but it's so worth it, because once you've got your main broth, your main sauce, and you've got it tasting right, all you got to do is get out your meat again that you've pre-seasoned and put in the freezer, thaw it out, let it come to room temperature. You're going to brown it off and then add it back to the stock. And as you know, pepper pot, Peter's getting all excited, Pepperpot needs to be warmed up every 12 hours and it can sit on your stove. So I've kept Pepperpot for 2 weeks. Sometimes I'm just left with the gravy, and I might freeze it, take it back out, add it back to the pot, brown some meat off, and then add it again. So it's like a mother sauce, you know. Once you've got it, you can just keep adding meat to it and it just becomes that much better. One time I've even started the Pepperpot with beef, and then once all the beef was gone, I browned it off some deer meat and then added it to that, and that was pretty fabulous. I've done wild boar. There's so much different types of meat, the deer meat, the venison. The possibilities are endless. All you have to do is make sure you keep warming it up every 12 hours. So I usually do it in the morning when I get up, and I do it at night. Okay? And your Pepperpot can be eaten with bread, can be eaten with nice steamed rice, you know, can just be eaten on its own, just with the broth and the meat. So the possibilities are endless for this Pepperpot, and it can last you all holiday season if you take care of it and you put that love and attention to getting it right and then taking care of it for the duration of the holidays. All right, so I'm gonna let this keep boiling, and I'll come and check on it periodically, you know, every 15 minutes or so. Give it a stir, make sure it's okay, make sure nothing went wrong with the heat, because sometimes walking by I might brush this and the heat might spike up. So I am constantly checking to make sure it's on medium, because I want it to cook low and slow, and I want that love to go into it. All right, so when you do this recipe and you make for your family, or you enjoy somebody's Pepperpot they've made for you, then you'll know how much love and how much they love you by sharing it with you. We'll be back shortly. So it's been another 15 minutes, and I want to touch on about Pepperpot, why we make it. It's actually our First Nations in Guyana. It's their dish, and it's something they would traditionally make, and they would eat it with cassava bread or yuca bread. I've seen yuca bread used in the Dominican Republic when I visited there, so I know for a fact that many First Nations across the Caribbean use yuca bread, and that would be a popular thing for them to eat with their Pepperpot, or they would have some people eat it with provisions. So your cassava, your eddos, your sweet potato boiled and then sauteed with some onions, and then they would pour the Pepperpot on top. People eat it with roti. So it's endless possibilities what you can have it with, but my favorite is with a nice loaf of fresh plat bread, which is like a milky sweet bread, very soft interior, and it's extremely absorbent. So when you touch the bread to the sauce, it just sucks it up, and it's just a perfect pairing because the bread is a little bit sweet and goes well with the meat of the Pepperpot and the sauce. We will be making that, I promise. So I'm gonna give this a stir again and be back again in 15 minutes. Okay guys, you've been patient. It's been cooking about an hour. Now I've got good news and I've got bad news. So the bad news, can you eat your Pepperpot now? Yeah, you can, but I wouldn't. I would let it sit overnight and let it heat back up for half an hour again tomorrow, and then try it. you'll find that some of the glutens will have developed. The stickiness, which is very important for Pepperpot. When you eat it and you're finished eating, sometimes your lips get stuck together. That means that it's been the glutens in the meat and all the bones and all the cow heel have released its stickiness, its goodness, and that's really important for the flavor and the texture of the Pepperpot. So I would not eat it now. I always eat my Pepperpot the next day. So it's been cooking for about an hour, and you'll find some of the meat will still be a little tough. That's okay. If you wanted to eat your Pepperpot tonight, I'd let it cook for another half an hour. But because I know I'm gonna eat my Pepperpot tomorrow, because I'm gonna let these flavors marinate, I'm gonna turn it off now. But before I do that, I'm tasting it. So I think that it needs a bit of salt and it needs the fresh garlic now. So if you notice, I didn't add any fresh garlic in the beginning because it really cooks out really fast. So now I'm gonna add some fresh garlic that I made from the garden, my own garlic, and the rest of the salt. Okay. If it doesn't totally come out because it's been sitting there, I'm just gonna add some water. Just a little bit of water there. Make sure I get all that out. Okay. And now I'm gonna say goodnight to my Pepperpot, and in the morning we'll make fresh bread and we will enjoy after it cooks for another half an hour till the meat is tender. Okay, good morning. So now here's the Pepperpot, and I like to do this before I start boiling it back. It's just skimming off any oil that's on the top. Okay, I already did this process a little sooner, but a little earlier. So you can see most of the oils come off the top. Okay, and that mostly comes from the cow heel or whatever it is. And now I'm gonna put it back on to boil for the final cooking. Now that our Pepperpot is completely cooked and the meat is at the perfect texture, I'm going to taste now for salt and see if I need to add any more wiri, garlic, married man, or thyme. At this point, for me, my Pepperpot is perfect, and I will retaste it in a day to see if there's any adjustments needing to be made. Hey guys, now that your Pepperpot is done and you're ready to enjoy, please look at my bread recipe also, which accompanies the Pepperpot quite deliciously. You're going to be heating your Pepperpot in the morning and also at night. So don't overcook your meat. Don't rush to get all the meat tender right away, or by the second day it'll just be mush. So it's okay if it's a little bit holding together, and it's okay if the meat's a little firmer. As it cooks, it will get softer in time, and you'll find by the second day, if it lasts that long, it'll be really tender and the sauce will have developed. So I wish you guys a wonderful holiday season, and let's hope 2021 is better than 2020. And may God bless you all, and I thank you for watching my video.